Decline sit-ups are really one of the best ways to build abdominal strength, because when you do this properly, it really ties the entire core musculature together with the hip flexors, which are really, if you're being, in my opinion, more correct, they're one and the same. The hip flexors are a part of the core musculature, right? The core musculature includes the hip flexors. So, at any rate, however you think about it, when you're talking about real-world performance, whether you are a gymnastic strength training enthusiast and you're working on your hollow holds or dragon flags because you're, calisthenics or whatever, right? You need to take punches because you're a boxer or a Muay Thai fighter. All of this stuff really puts you in a position to build the underlying structure that can handle the demands of your sport or hobby. Now, the nice thing about these is that you can weight them, and that's a very distinct advantage over a lot of other ways of doing things. Now, we'll talk about other ways. This is really simple because it's very comfortable, and you'll find that when we start talking about alternate ways like using wrist and ankle weights with hollow holds, you have to do a lot of guesswork because your legs are longer than your arms are. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to get the weights quite right to balance you out properly, where you don't have that issue with the decline sit-ups. And this equipment is available at virtually any gym. Now, you might not have this particular thing, but if you are working out at home, this is the Iron Master Super Bench. I love this thing. It is, I think, less than $300. It might be $325, I don't remember, but it's good for like 1,000 pounds. You're never going to break this thing, okay? And it will go all the way up to vertical. It's very, very easy to use and extremely easy to put together and very stable. And I'll do a little mini feature on that. But wherever you're at, whatever you've got, if you're at the gym, one of the things I do at the university gym is I take 2 dumbbells and I put them under the back feet of the sit-up bench to lift it up and give me a somewhat decent decline. Because if I don't do that, the bench is basically flat, and I'm going to show you why that's not a great thing for this exercise right now. What we're looking for is really teaching your body how to get into a posterior pelvic tilt and then maintain it, which is really, we're going to be creating a straight lower back. And the reason that we're doing that is that if you have your lower back arched and then you try and sit up, you can't sit up without flexing the spine, right? So if you do that, then what's going to end up happening is that you're going to cause delamination of the disc. I'm pausing because I don't want to get too technical, but what happens is your discs have this pulpy stuff on the inside called the nucleus pulposa. It's like jelly, and the outside is really tough like Kevlar, and it's made out of collagen and very strong proteins. And over time, if you first compress really tight and then start mashing it around between the 2 bones, as you can imagine, you start breaking down that armored layer, and eventually it pops and the jelly comes out and you have what we call a herniated disc. Now that's bad, right? You hear herniated disc? Nobody wants that. So to make this into a safe exercise for you and to take away back pain that sit-ups may have caused in the past, you need to do 2 things. First, you need to do this exercise correctly, and second, you need to stretch your hip flexors correctly. We will have a link at the end of this video to the hip flexor article and to the hip flexor video. For now, we're going to focus on this exercise. So as you get up on the bench, right, you'll notice that this is somewhere between a 30 and a 45 degree angle. Okay? Now, the back shape that I have right now is the back shape that I'm going to keep through the whole exercise. I'm never going to arch my back. Right? So as I come down, my glutes are actually going to be rotating. You might be able to hear that. I don't know. The camera's kind of like 8 feet away. Right? So when you start off, a lot of people are laying flat. Right? And your hand can fit under your lower back, no problem. We don't want that. We want to crush the hand, right? The pressure goes from your belly button through the hips, right? So that your upper back is coming off the mat, the bench, whatever, and you are pressing your lower back into the bench. And then from here, you don't throw your arms, you just tighten everything up, Breathe down into your stomach. Diaphragmatic pressure tightens this. It tightens all of these muscles and compresses the fluid and organs so that your spine can't move. And then the hip flexors and the abdominal muscles together lift me up, right? While my glutes slide in place because the hip is rotating, right? And then I hold 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And then back up. Now I want to do these until you can do 10 to 15 reps in each set without it being a huge problem. You're going to feel it, but it's not going to be like, oh my God, I'm at my limit. You'll know, I can do a little more. And then what you'll do, if you're not at an angle like this yet, and your equipment lets you get there, you're going to bring the angle up. The other thing that you can do is you can add more weight. I suggest that you never go up more than 5 pounds at a time. That can also be a lot of weight, especially if you're a smaller person. So you may want to consider going up like 1 or 2 or 3 pounds at a time. Whatever you do, do not raise the angle and increase the weight at the same time. One or the other, people, one or the other. Okay? It's the only way to have really good fine-tuned control over how much resistance you're adding. So, we've talked about the form. It's really very simple. This is not a hard exercise, but most people don't know to hit the posterior pelvic tilt first, which is what we're doing when we flatten our back against the bench, right? So once you do that, this becomes a very safe exercise. And what happens is that your core basically learns to keep the lower back in a fairly neutral position, believe it or not. And you'll notice that as you start moving around after you've done these for a few weeks, you'll realize, wow, I can really stabilize better. And the really cool thing is, let's say that you're into functional fitness and you want to do, crazy planks or plank jumps or blah, 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 right? You're going to be rock solid, right? Because planks are very poor at building muscle compared to an exercise like this, because you are dynamically moving. The muscle is changing length, you're getting eccentric muscle damage, and you don't really get that in a plank. By definition, a plank is supposed to be not moving. So you're getting neural stimulation, you're getting short-term mechanoreceptor stuff, which, don't worry if that's over your head. It's a very small growth stimulus. What it's doing is teaching your body to use what it already has. What this is doing is teaching your body to build new muscle so that you can do more than you were previously capable of. Together, they become the performance team. This is the builder, and hollow holds, planks, other variations of such things, the stir the pot, which by the way are phenomenal exercises for a lot of athletes. All of those things are skills, really, at their core. They're tough skills, but the strength comes from here if you do these correctly. And I can guarantee you that if you follow the instructions here, right, you're going to see a lot of improvement in your core strength, and it's going to come pretty quickly. You're going to see an improvement in the way your midsection looks, you're going to see yourself perform better, and you're going to feel better about yourself because you're going to realize, wow, I'm doing one of the fundamentals correctly. How about that? What a crazy concept. By the way, that posterior pelvic tilt thing, that's very important when you're doing a sit-up test as well, whether it's for high school or the military, police department, or whatever. I don't remember who does this crap anymore, right? But usually when you see it's people fishy, flopping around, and you just shake your head and say, oh, see you in therapy, bro. But this way you don't have to worry about that. So that posterior pelvic tilt, again, you notice when I say things a lot, I'm not just like tickling my own funny bone here. I really just want you to realize that it's that important, okay? So that's the key. Posterior pelvic tilt. Build up to 3 sets. You can build up to 5 sets if you want, but at minimum build up to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. And then either add some weight or raise the bench up a few degrees. Okay? Do it safely. If your setup doesn't allow for you to safely raise the bench beyond a certain point, then don't. Okay? We'll talk about other, hacks to get a little more mileage out of this in very limited situations next time. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments below, subscribe to the channel, and stick with us. Start of a great journey, and I appreciate y'all being here with us for it.